St. Paul tells us in Ephesians we're God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God has prepared in advance for us to do. Today, we celebrate the past and present women of St. John the Divine, who are God's handiwork, doing good works through Philoptochos. Philoptochos gives us the opportunity to actualize our faith and continue Christ's ministry, which is to love our neighbor. From Laura Street to Atlantic Boulevard to Beach Boulevard, ours is a legacy of hope and charity passed down from generation to generation. While the role of women in society may have changed over the past 100 years, the role of Philoptochos remains steadfast, to be a friend of the poor. Not just a friend of the materially poor, but also a friend to those who are physically and spiritually poor. Whether we are feeding the hungry, cooking meals for families at Ronald McDonald House, or providing comfort through charitable outreach, we seek to feed not only the bodies, but also the souls of those in need. This is the essence of Philoptochos. So join us now as we share and celebrate our 100-year history through our reflections and stories of Philoptochos.
I became involved with Philoptochos as soon as I got married. I'm the sort of person that I always like to be involved in things, and because my mother-in-law was involved with Philoptochos, it was a natural thing for me to do. And so that was 33 years ago. But even back then, I really didn't spend that much time doing a lot with Philoptochos because within a couple of years I had children, and as most parents do, as most mothers do, they get involved in other organizations at first. And so it was over a period of time that once my girls grew up enough, I kind of transitioned into doing more with Philoptochos.
I belonged to the SNE, the Goya, when I was younger, and so Philoptochos was not my agenda, you know. But when I outgrew those organizations, I decided that I needed to join Philoptochos, which I did.
I was always involved with Philoptochos as a child because my mother and father, who I should say was one of the first male members in Knoxville, Tennessee of the Philoptochos, which was quite an inspiration where both parents were involved.
I guess we grew up in Philoptochos because my mother was a member, and as a little one I always followed around, and she thought that Philoptochos, like they said, was the right arm of the church, and we all contributed towards it.
I'm Georgia Megas, and I've been here since 1952 when I got married to Nick Megas. And it's been wonderful years so far.
My mother was a charter member, and I remember going to the meetings with her. She spoke nothing but Greek, and I'd translate for her. And she was another lover of Philoptochos in the church. So I learned from her. I learned from the best.
My mother was one of the early members of Philoptochos, and she always used to talk about how in the 20s, because she came in 1929 and as a young bride, and in the 1930s during the Depression, they would go, the ladies of the church would go from store to store soliciting money to help the poor. And she said most people were nice to us. She said some of them actually kicked us out. They didn't want to give us anything. And we considered ourselves lucky if we got $1.
I became involved in 1955, I believe, or 56, and I was a bride, came to Jacksonville. My husband was born and raised here. I left my family and I felt very lonely, and this one Christmas, the first Christmas, Dina Fatinas, again, there's our Dina, came to our house with a group of ladies to welcome me and brought my daughter a set of little dishes from the 5 and 10 cent store, which were the beautiful little dishes, and made me feel so welcome that I joined Philoptochos.
I was aware of Philoptochos growing up because of my mom, Metaxia Stathis, and at that time always thought of it as the old person's club. And it was endearing to me because she was a homemaker and never went anywhere, didn't even speak English well. So for me to think of her as going to a club and having those club friendships, it was really special.
In 1935, Philoptochos became the official women's organization of the community. Our chapter was named Saint Anargyrikos and the Mianos. The hymns for these saints say, "Freely you have received, freely give." And this is our chapter's motto.
We developed from another member of our Philoptochos, a senior member, a beautiful funeral prayer that is read when one of our members passes. It's read at the funeral or the Trisagion. And after that is done, we hand a copy to the grieving family for their records. That won an award. The brochure won an award. We were going to our conference just very confident we were going to win awards. We were really going to put Philoptochos of St. John the Divine on the map.
I came to church a few days, Sundays, and I would see Presbytera Helen in the kitchen cutting up cakes and cookies and all. And one Sunday, 2 Sundays, and then I went in, I said, "Do you do this every Sunday on your own?" And she said, "Yes, I don't mind." I said, "Well, I do." So I started the coffee hour.
When the new priest came, the first thing he saw was the altar boys need robes, and they had no money to buy. And our very dear friends, Dina Fatinas and Mary Moses, sewed beautiful robes for the altar boys, and they were ready to come over to the new church.
One day in the teacher's lounge, the school nurse came in. Woman was practically in tears, and she was telling us about this new student who had come to my school who was practically blind. And she said, "I can't get any help for this child." And I called Philoptochos. I think it might have been Marcy Ballas who was in charge of that particular part of it. And I told her very quickly what the problem was. And I said, "Do you think we can help these people out?" She said, "Just give me her phone number," which I did. And God bless them, they've followed this child up and made sure that she had everything that she needed, not only the glasses, the doctor appointments, and so forth. And I thought, wow, this is really, I guess, what it's all about.
There was a meeting that we were supposed to go to, and I really needed to come home. I really didn't want to stay for the meeting. And I did, and it was a board meeting. It was starting off the year, and the tables were set up in a horseshoe shape. And before we were seated, I had a member come up to me, and she took my hand, and she said, "Wendy Regis, it's so nice to meet you." And I responded back, and I said, "Yes, I'm Wendy Regis. It's nice to meet you too." Because who doesn't want to be Wendy? I mean, everybody other than giving birth 5 times, you want to be Wendy. Oh, I corrected myself and I said, "I'm not Wendy." And then a few minutes later, God rest her soul, Teddy Scarless, started out, and she said, "This means so much to me. I'm looking at this room of young, beautiful, vibrant women." Stop there. And I said, "Boy, it was meant to be here. I have been mistaken for Wendy Regis and called vibrant and beautiful and young all within 5 minutes."
My favorite memory of Philoptochos is helping my mom every Christmas time. She does the Senior Angels, and we take gifts that people have purchased, members of our church have purchased, and we take them down to some assisted living, senior living facility and pass those out. And it's really neat to see how thankful they are and grateful for having somebody come visit them, because they don't really have a lot of family around and things like that. So it's been a great thing to experience, especially since my mom's kind of in charge of organizing it. So getting to see her do that is really neat.
We just created a cookbook that was probably 2 years in the making. We gathered recipes from Daughters of Penelope's old cookbook, from our old Philoptochos cookbook, and we did get some recipes from members that were not of Greek heritage. We've got Lebanese recipes and Romanian recipes and Serbian recipes. And we were able to, get this all together and develop a beautiful cookbook that will now help generate money for our outreach and be something that we can hand down to our, daughters and daughter-in-laws and nieces and, all family members.
I joined when I started helping with Philly's Night Out, which has been going on for about 4 years now. I'm part of the committee, and I truly enjoy the different generations that are part of the committee, and not just the committee, but the group in general. It's a lot of fun to get to know a lot of different people and to help in the community.
More than anything else, we have fun. And anybody that joins Philoptochos, they bring their passions in, and
their talents, and
whoever would have thought that we would have a group of 15 ladies gathering together to knit prayer shawls. I haven't knit since I was in 4th grade, and yet I'm knitting again.
Right.
It's wonderful because when you finish the prayer shawl and it goes to the person that it's supposed to be given to, I've heard reports that the people actually feel the love and the embracing as they're wrapping it around them. It's quite a blessing.
It just takes a little time to serve humanity. And anything you can do to help. Philoptochos means friend of the poor, but it's really not that. It's the friend of the needy.
It's easy to write a check, but I think the most rewarding thing is to get hands-on, to get involved into the community, and to be able to go one-on-one or a group, or to be able to go out into the community.
For Philoptochos, I think of sisterhood, friendship, and then not just staying within our own comfortable, familiar space, but reaching out to show that friendship to all the world. It's a great opportunity, and I've really grown through it, and I'm thankful for it.
We have a very unusual group of women. They're very energetic, they're very smart. We all get along, I can say that. We have a good time together, we really do.
The talents that people share with Philoptochos and the church itself, it's phenomenal. It's a huge family, welcoming, opening, and you get to be such an integral part of that.
The Philoptochos that I went into, and the Philoptochos as it is today, has broadened what it does. And the thing that I'm most proud of is the young women. What they do, they cook for poor that aren't Greek. I mean, they cook for all the poor. The prayer shawl ministry is for anyone who's sick. And that means all in the world to me.
I'm so proud of the young people like yourself who have stepped in and who are now carrying this mission further and further. Our own group here is doing wonderful things. And when you pick up the Orthodox Observer and you see that National Philoptochos has given $100,000 to children's hospitals, you can't help but feel good.
It's overwhelming when you realize all that Philoptochos does, but Philoptochos should do that because that's what the church charges us to do. Jesus Christ, these are his commands. And so it's wonderful to think that Philoptochos can help you with your walk in Christ.
Till I really got involved, little did I know how much impact that it had on not only our local, national, and international level. It's amazing what we have done, what we do, and what we will continue to do with the help of all the parishioners.
Whether it's stuffing baskets for the homeless, or doing a walk to clean up, or any of the many things that we do to reach out to others, you get a chance to know people in a new way. And the surprise of it is, it's the easiest and best way to get to know them.
There's not an adequate word for me to describe the impact that Philoptochos has had on local families, even internationally. It's just a wonderful organization.
I'm just so proud of these young women today. And I would say to any young woman out there, come on in and join them, because they don't just sit there and they do things. They really, really do things. Ronald McDonald House, the prayer shawl ministry, they touch so many people's lives. And I hope that others will come.
And we had the fun together. Even though we worked hard and we became true sisters, not just sisters of Philoptochos, we became like a family. We cared for each other, and it's been over 60 years now. And we still have that feeling for each other.
It just kind of got me more involved in church, especially with my mom, Cindy Sangus, and my godmother, Pam Tundas. My grandmother, Frances Sangus, she was a part of Philoptochos, so it's kind of cool to get to experience that, something that she kind of helped form back when she was around. So,
my mother, who's been in this church probably 10 or 11 years now, and again involved with the whole group. I think she goes to the adult Bible class and whatnot. Her name is Mary Virginia Christakos, and I think she is an inspiration not just to me and my daughters, but to many people in the church.
Dina Patinas and Mary Moses, they were the backbone. When there was no one to help, you could depend on them. And they were the ones that started cooking for us for the festival. I mean, everything was on their shoulders, and they were very dedicated.
You know, I love to cook, and so one of the ladies that particularly comes to mind was Dina Patinas. And when she died, she left in her will some money to go to the new church for the kitchen.
I guess to me, T. Pappas is such an inspiration. She does everything for everybody, and she is wonderful, and I can't say enough good things about her. She really is just all into it.
We got it ready for the next generation, which is now in existence, and we're so proud of what they've done with our legacy. And we are very happy to have served our church that we love so much.
I would urge anybody who's not involved to get involved, to encourage their children to see the example that you're setting and to see the involvement and why it's so important, because it carries on tradition. And I don't think you can do anything better or give your child a better gift than to set a good example and carry on the tradition of the church and the Philoptochos.
Well, I think if they're not a member of any organization, that they ought to give it a try and see what it really is that we do. We don't do everything all the time, but we do what we have to do.
Any woman that wants to serve and show the love for her church and her faith should immediately sign up and be with us. We'll give her something to do.
It takes everybody, the whole church. It's everybody's organization. It's not just the core women who run it. So I say, grab your husbands, your children, bring them in. Even people outside of the church who just want to help and have a fun time. Because for me, it's not the hard work. Yeah, you do the hard work, but that's not what I remember about an event. I remember the fun.
Being in Philoptochos really gets to your heart because you are helping others that are less fortunate than you are. And it's also camaraderie with your other girls. You get to meet them, and before you know it, you've made many friends. You can go out to lunch, and it gives you a good, happy feeling, and that you are doing something in the name of the Lord, because this is what it's all about, helping.
Christos Anesti Church family, Christ is risen. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate our Philoptochos. For 100 years, they've been impacting the people both inside and outside the walls of our church. It's tremendous to hear about the history and the stories that were heard on this video of how our Philoptochos was changing the city of Jacksonville, changing the people that were inside of our church. And we give glory to God in all things for what our Philoptochos has and continues to do. When I think about tonight, one of the things that I want to make sure that y'all all get on the inside of you is that let's celebrate what our Philoptochos has done by imitating them in our own lives. You know, we can celebrate by imitating their love, their comfort, their compassion, and their caring, not only to the people that are inside of our church, but the people that are outside of our church. You see, God's eyes to show people love are your eyes to show them love. God's arms that He uses to hug people, to comfort people, are your arms to comfort and to love people. Your voice is God's voice to give people hope. That's what our job is within Philoptochos and really within our church. And let's model our lives around the patron saints of our Philoptochos, Saints Cosmas and Damian. You know, the phrase that's used to refer to them is called unmercenaries. What does that mean? That means that they did everything not looking for any kind of earthly reward, not looking for any kind of earthly recognition. They did everything for a heavenly reward. They did everything selflessly. My challenge to you, my encouragement is, let's go out and celebrate tonight. Let's celebrate our church family. Let's celebrate our Philoptochos family. Let's celebrate by imitating their sacrifice, their service of Philoptochos for the next 100 years in the city of Jacksonville. God bless you, and once again, congratulations to our Philoptochos.